Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today's episode, I created it in honor of opening the doors to Curriculum Lab, which is one of my most beloved Done With You programs. Inside of Curriculum Lab, I support course creators and leaders step by step by step to craft a curriculum and group program that wows your participants and helps your participants love your program and get the most out of it. And so for today's episode, we are toe dipping into how to design online group programs that actually create transformation. Not just note taking online group programs, not just group programs that share interesting ideas, but group experiences that activate real inner and outer change. Now, we all know probably what I'm about to say next. The world of online learning has shifted dramatically. The old model of I talk, you listen, thank goodness that model is done. People don't need more passive information. They need integrated learning. And of course, this is something that I've been teaching for decades now, not how to give presentations, not how to give talks, but how to create experiences with your content. And before I go any further, I feel like I have to mention that I can hear the irony in my own words because I'm saying the days of I talk, you listen are over. I'm saying them on a podcast where I am very much talking and you are very much listening. But here's the thing. Podcasts or experiences like TED Talks, they're not designed to be transformational containers. Podcasts are meant to plant seeds, to open your heart, and to give you something meaningful to think about as you go through your day. On the other hand, a group program is where the hands-on transformation happens, where the nervous system, the emotions, the body, the practice, the community all come online. It's where change gets anchored and not just interesting ideas get discussed. So, yes, here on the podcast, I do talk a lot, but the work we're discussing today is all about what happens when you bring your ideas together into a live, relational, high touch space and group program. So, in the episode today, I'm going to give you some important distinctions and principles to help you build online group programs that are effective, that are high retention, and that are deeply transformational. We're going to talk about programs that really help people learn and grow and create results and how you can create those types of programs so that your participants are thrilled with the work that they do with you, so that you retain them as clients versus having them fall off halfway through the program, and so that they also send referrals your way. And of course, the biggest reason to create deeply transformational programs, I think, is so that you make bigger impact in the world and so that you feel deeply in your purpose as a teacher, as a leader, as a change maker. So I'm excited to dive into all of this today. And before we dive in, I want to make sure that I tell you this now so that I don't forget later. I am doing something different that over the last almost 2 years of this podcast, I haven't done. And it didn't really occur to me to do this until a few weeks ago. I'm taking a short break from the podcast, not a long one. It's kind of like a season break. So we're going to take, this is going to be the last episode for 2025. And then we're going to take the month off of December, and we're going to come back the very first month of 2026. So we'll drop our next podcast after this one on January 5th. And it's so funny that it didn't even occur to me until recently that podcasts don't have to go on and on and on and on, week after week after week after week, that there can be a break, that just like TV shows, there are seasons and then there are breaks and there's time for renewal. And I'm so happy I realized it. I love putting together this podcast. It brings me so much joy. It brings me so much joy when I hear from all of you. We get emails and notes on, how deeply everything that I share here impacts you. And at the same time, it's work. It's work to put together the episodes. I'm very thoughtful about it. I'm very intentional about it. And especially now with all of the holidays coming up, I don't know if I can stick to the schedule of getting things done, because I'll tell you a little secret. Even though I would love to be the kind of person who gets their podcast episode done and recorded weeks or months in advance, the truth is, ever since my mother passed away, I've been on a schedule of getting these episodes recorded just the week before we drop them. So I don't even have any in reserve. I think I need to take some time off so that I can bring even more amazing things to you in 2026. Now, if you want to hear from me and you want to hear my voice during December, sign up for our newsletter. I'll put a link in the show notes, because I will still continue to send the newsletter out to the community during December. I'll be sharing contents and tips and stories there. Okay, so let's dive in onto how to do online learning differently. And I'm going to share, like I said, a couple of distinctions and principles. And here's the first one. Don't create courses that prioritize content only. Instead, design exercises that activate transformation based on content. So here's something I want every course creator to deeply understand when they go to create their curriculum. Information doesn't create change. Experience does. I'm going to say that again because it's so important. Information isn't what creates change. Your expertise, your ideas, no matter how incredible they are, that's not what actually changes or helps create change fully for your course participants. It's the experience that you provide inside of your program that does. So, cognitive science has shown for decades that we remember only about 10% of what we hear. I'm going to say that again because it's kind of mind-blowing. Cognitive science has shown that for decades, this is decades of research, that as humans, we only remember about 10% of what we hear. And when I say hear, I mean what we hear or what we read. That being said, what research has also shown us is that we remember 70 to 90% of what we do, of what we interact with, of what we discuss, or of what we emotionally engage with. Just think about that for a moment. Only 10% of what we hear, what we read, but 70 to 90% of what we do, what we interact with, what we engage with. So, experiential learning theory and neurobiology and adult learning research, they all point to the same thing, which is that the brain needs more than content to encode long-term memory and change. So, in other words, if your course or if your workshop is kind of like, here, let me tell you a bunch of great ideas and concepts, people may really like it. They may think it's super cool, and it might create momentary inspiration, maybe even a little bit of action, but it won't truly help them create change or reach their goals. So, what I'm suggesting here, number one, is exercise driven learning. Taking your content and making sure that you have really great exercises for your pieces of content so that 70 to 90% of it can be retained versus 10% of it can be retained. And for those of you who are listening who have been through Curriculum Lab with me, you know that one of my obsessions inside of Curriculum Lab is to support course creators to not only get crystal clear on what your content and concepts are, but to also help you craft deeply resonant transformational exercises so that your students can deeply engage with and integrate and take action on your content and on your concepts. And here's another important piece about the exercise thing. We could go on and on about how to create exercises. I won't today, but I do want to say this. And you have heard me say this before if you've been listening to this podcast. This is something that my Curriculum Lab students know forward and backwards. My sacred depthers know this forward and backwards as well. We don't want to create just any exercises. Inside of your curriculum and programming, you want to create exercises that activate what I call the 4 levels of learning and processing. So not only the level of the cognitive, which that's what a lot of presentations are, right? That's what a lot of talks are, is it activates the cognitive, the intellect. Yes, of course, we want cognitive learning for sure. But again, research shows that cognitive learning isn't enough for long-lasting learning, for long-lasting motivation, for long-lasting action taking. We also want exercises that activate the emotional level of learning and processing. We want exercises that activate the body level of learning and processing. And we want exercises that activate what I call the spirit level of learning and processing. This doesn't have to be a religious thing, but it's activating connection to and trust something bigger than the ego. So if you want to learn more about the 4 levels of learning and processing, I go through them in an earlier podcast episode. I should have brought the episode number with me, which I didn't, but I'll put it into the show notes for you. So when you activate more than just someone's prefrontal cortex, when you include the emotional brain, the limbic system, the body, the senses, etc., that's when learning sticks even more. Okay, so there's lots that go into crafting really powerful transformational exercises. That's one little tip for you. And I really, again, I want you to remember to not prioritize content only, to really think of your curriculum as content, and then you go deeper on the content with exercises and content, and then you go deeper with exercises. So for example, let's say you're teaching about boundary setting. Don't lecture for 45 minutes straight on tips for setting boundaries. Instead, talk less and include, for example, exercises or experiences where folks can really get into their fears or blocks to being able to set boundaries, or where they can go deeper to actually transform what's holding them back from setting aligned boundaries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll take this a step further. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in the episode, but I'll just share this now. Let's say you have a class inside of a program that's 60 minutes long, or you're giving a workshop that's 60 minutes long. This might sound really out there, but go with me here for a moment. Out of 60 minutes, I want you to consider that you shouldn't really prepare more than 30 to 35 minutes of actual lecture content. So, what do you do the rest of the time? Think of the 60 minutes as sharing some content for people to sink their teeth into, and then doing transformational exercises to really get it, to connect to it more deeply, to start embodying and integrate it. Sprinkle exercises throughout so that your participants can make the content their own, so that they can apply it to themselves, right? So a little content, a little exercise, a little content, a little exercise. Give opportunity for deeper learning and integration. So all of that relates to the second distinction that I want us to take a look at today for creating really transformational programs, doing online learning differently. And that is create engagement, belonging, and safety. And when you simply just deliver a talk, you're not truly creating engagement, belonging, and safety. So having the content and then the transformational exercises is so, so, so important, but it's actually not enough. Your voice as the facilitator, as the teacher, shouldn't be the only voice heard in a group. And in fact, the most successful group programs are the ones where the leader makes a lot of space for sharing and engagement, for other voices to be heard. This is a big, big distinction between being a presenter and being a facilitator. Really, really having your people engage. So inside of your curriculum, you want to intentionally build space for engagement. You want to have lots of opportunity for sharing, for Q&A. You want to be intentional about how you use the chat if you're using it, right? And use the chat so that it's a place for people to engage and connect and to have their voices heard. Now, be intentional because some people also don't love the chat. They get overwhelmed by it. Right? Inside of Curriculum Lab, I teach all of the ins and outs of how to use sharing, voice to voice sharing, chat sharing, all of that. Think about how you're going to use breakout rooms. There are really masterful ways to use breakout rooms so that people can take their learning more deeply, so that they can feel a sense of community, so that they can get more ahas and motivation. Think about other ways that you can activate engagement. And not only engagement, but as I said earlier, belonging and safety. They all go together. So I don't want you to think of your programs as a program. I want you to think of your programs as a community. Even if it's a one-time workshop, it's kind of like a pop-up community, right? But not like just a collection of people. And um, it's so important because when people feel that they're in community, when people feel that they have a seat in the community, when people feel that their voice matters in the community, when people feel that others want to hear what they have to say in the community, that's where more belonging is created. That's when more safety is created. When there's belonging and safety, there's more engagement. When there's more engagement, there's more belonging and safety. And all of these things lead to more learning and to more investment in the program, more emotional investment in the program, more cognitive investment in the program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is going to lead to better results for your participants. So again, lots of opportunity for sharing, for Q&A. Use the chat, use breakout rooms. And then depending on your program, there are so many other types of strategies you can use for engagement and belonging. For example, inside of Sacred Depths, we have meet and greet sessions where people get to just connect and network and get to know each other, and people love that. Inside of Sacred Depths, we have small group discussions. People have the option to have practice partners, et cetera, et cetera. All of this helps so much. So I want you to think about also with all of this, this is an important piece. How are you starting your program off so that people want to be vulnerable, so that people feel that they're part of the community, so that people want to share and engage? And I also want you to remember that the power of a group program is the group. So one mistake that I see a lot of group leaders make is that they have the belief that the most important relationships inside of their group programs are between them, the facilitator, the leader, and each individual person in the group. But the truth is, again, the power of a group is the group. The most important relationships inside of a group are the relationships among people and the relationship inside of the group itself, right? So you always want to be thinking, how are you leveraging the group? All right, let's keep on going. I know I'm moving through these pretty quickly. Of course, inside of Curriculum Lab, we go deep into all of the details and the how-tos in this. But there are a few other things that I want to share today. And so the next distinction is, or I guess distinction or principle that I want you to be thinking about with your groups: drop the one size fits all program model and instead design multiple levels of support. Now, to be clear, before I start to explain about this, what I don't mean necessarily is to have different tiers of a program, right? So We sometimes do this, and I've seen a lot of this out there, like if you pay this much, you get this much support, and then if you pay this much, you get more support. That's actually not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about within any tier of a program, don't approach it as one size fits all. Because if you approach it as one size fits all, there are going to be students or participants that get left behind. They're not going to get what they need. So, research shows that adult learners vary widely in terms of executive functioning, motivation, emotional needs, learning styles, and also accountability preferences. So, if you design a program where there is just one singular path to success, it's probably not going to work for everyone. Instead, you want to design a program that has various paths to success. And by the way, this isn't just true of adult learners. We see this with kids inside of schools, like some of the latest strategies, cutting edge strategies inside of schools is that different kids get different types of support inside of a school setting. And for the schools that are doing this, they're seeing incredible success. So inside of your group programs, it's important to know that some of your participants are going to absolutely 100% thrive with only a weekly training and then doing homework. For those people, that's great. That's all that they need. But for other people in your programs, in order for them to thrive, they may need other support. They may need maybe co-working sessions, or they might need accountability pods, or they might need optional office hours, or supplemental materials, or check-ins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The possibilities are endless, and I'm not suggesting to put all of these into your programs. But what I am suggesting is I want you to think about who are your ideal clients for any particular program that you're putting together. And remember that the ideal client is not a singular person, right? There is variation, there is a spectrum there for the ideal client. And I want you to think about what might they need to help them be successful in the program, what some of them might need, what others might need, and then match that up with what you're willing to give and provide. We do this inside of all of our programs. So as an example, inside of Curriculum Lab, we have our weekly training sessions with exercises, and there's Q&A that's built in to those sessions. And then on top of that, for people who want it, every week we have a get it done curriculum session where people come for 90 minutes and they work on their curriculum in real time with me or someone on my team, and we're there to answer questions as they work on their curricula in real time. We are there to just help support them in accountability. They step into the container. Somehow, all of a sudden, they overcome their writer's block, the way we set it up, et cetera. Now, not everybody inside of Curriculum Lab comes to the get it done sessions. They don't need it. They do it on their own, they know, and that's great. But for the people who need it, like, wowee, it is such a huge support, right? People have different learning styles and different success styles. Another example inside of Curriculum Lab, it's kind of wild that I offer this inside of Curriculum Lab, but I do. You can submit your curriculum to me as many times as you want during the 6 weeks. The full curriculum, pieces of the curriculum, your homework, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I will read every single word and then give you ideas, feedback, help you brainstorm, help you go deeper, etc. Some people inside of Curriculum Lab, they only submit once, right? They wait till that towards the end and they submit. And that's what's great for them. Like that's what they need. And then others in Curriculum Lab submit to me multiple times. They need a little bit more. They need a little bit more hand holding, right? So we don't want to do, if we really want our students and our participants to be uber successful in our programming, we can't do a one size fits all. We need to know that there is a range in terms of our people. And I really believe it's important for us to be committed to meet our people where they're at. All of this helps increase completion rates in our programs, satisfaction rates in our programs, and results in our programs. And so this relates to the next piece that I want to share, which is make your program high touch. So I don't know, there was a trend in the coaching industry for a number of years, which I did not participate in because it was never my style. But there's a trend of like programs are just a factory of anonymous numbers, right? Like, what are our numbers? Let's just get as many people as we can. And people were kind of treated as numbers. And it didn't work. A lot of people dropped out of programs because they weren't high touch enough, because people felt like numbers. People don't want to just be anonymous heads on a Zoom screen for the most part. Every now and again, maybe they do, right? But for the most part, no. They want to be seen. They want to feel your presence, your warmth, your care. They want to feel that you want to know them. They want to be known. Research from online education shows that learner retention skyrockets when students feel recognized by their instructor. We know this is the case for school children. This is the case for adults as well. Now, I want to be so clear. When I say high touch, I do not mean overgive and burn yourself out. So, what I do mean is be intentional about personal moments. And this is something inside of Applied Depth Institute, me and my team, inside of every one of our programs, we just take this so seriously. We are high touch, high touch, high touch. I genuinely want to know my clients and my students, whether they're with me for a year-long program or whether they're with me for a one-day program. I am in it for the people, for holding space for the people. Like that's the glory for me, is the relationships and the supporting others to be known, and for them to know that I'm here to support them. So high touch can look lots and lots of different ways. I'll just name a couple of ways right now that we institute in our team. So, number one, um, if I haven't seen someone around in a little bit in class, I'm going to check in with them. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to see how they're doing. Another thing we do inside of Sacred Depths is a couple weeks after the program starts, pretty soon after the program starts, we have one-on-one check-in sessions where we can hear from people, how is it going? What do they need to be able to feel uber comfortable with the technology, with the, right, whatever we're doing, we're there for them one-on-one. I always offer inside of sacred depth sessions, be in touch with me in between sessions, ask questions, let me know what you need. I'm here. Right. So those are just a few ways. I think in 2026, I'm going to do a whole episode on high touch and how to make programs high touch because it's such a big and important topic. It can really change a participant's entire experience of you and your program. Okay, so a few more things I want to make sure you get today. Uh, we're going to talk a lot about curriculum development and creating a journey inside of your curriculum uh, on December 10th. I'm going to be offering a free workshop. It's called The Transformational Power of Curriculum. Create a program as powerful as you. And inside of that, we're going to go deep into curriculum. You're going to learn a lot. I'll give you the link if you want to sign up for it. But for now, what I want to share about your curriculum is when you put your curriculum together, please think of it as a transformational arc versus a list of topics. Think of it as a transformational arc versus a list of topics. So a lot of programs out there are basically just a collection of topics week after week. Transformation doesn't work that way. Human beings change through arc, through sequence, through pacing, through integration, etc., etc., etc. And so I want you to really think as you put together your curriculum and your ideas that you're not creating a syllabus, you're building a journey. Okay. So important. The journey, there's also, I'll just say for now, there's a cognitive journey and there's an emotional journey that you want to have running through your curriculum. You will find that you will have much higher retention, much deeper learning if you create that journey. All right. Last piece for today. I know this one is a little bit of a controversial one. And by the way, I'm just cherry picking. This podcast episode could be like 5 hours long with all of the distinctions and the principles. I'm cherry picking for today. But the last one for today that uh, is really important for me to share, even though I know that it is a little controversial. Don't rely on AI or ChatGPT for your curriculum. Now, for some of you, that's going to mean you don't rely on it at all. But even if you do use AI or ChatGPT a little bit, please, 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 pretty please, don't create your whole curriculum inside of ChatGPT or another AI bot. So I will tell you, I have been helping course creators develop their thought leadership and their curriculum for decades now. I have helped many, 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 many people. I have helped them find incredible ideas inside of themselves, experience and expertise they didn't even know they had. I have helped them not only find their ideas and their thought leadership, but supported them on how to go deeper with it with the transformational exercises. And in all the years that I've been supporting and teaching, what's come out on the other side has just been amazing and authentic and so powerful. And over the last year-ish, I have noticed in some of my courses and trainings that some students are using the tools that I'm teaching, but they're bringing them to ChatGPT or other bots. They're not doing, in other words, they're not doing all the work of going deep inside of themselves. And they're basically kind of just like feeding some ideas into the bot and then asking the bot to create the curriculum. And what comes out on the other side is something, yeah, it's got a lot of words. There's some interesting, cool things in there, but it's not unique. It doesn't have an emotional resonance. It doesn't go deep enough. It feels like everything else out there. It's just, it flattens, it ends up flattening ideas. And uh, in the last year, year and a half, I have had to, do the hard work of calling out a couple of students who I could just tell as I was reading, this is not them, this is AI. And we've gotten them back on track. And I know some of it just happens because AI is so pervasive and it seems like it's going to be easier and all the things. And I'm not saying don't use it at all, but please don't fully rely on it. You will not end up with the program that you really want. Okay, so I hope that what we looked at today was uber helpful. I hope that it is activating some ideas for you when you go to design your online programs. I hope it will help you make your programming more experiential and engaging and personalized and powerful and all the things. I don't want you to think of yourself as just delivering content. I want you to think of yourself as creating incredible experiences so that you can create spaces where people feel safe, alive, connected, and capable of real transformation. This is how you can support your clients to create extraordinary results. And if you want to go deeper with any of this, there are two upcoming opportunities. First is that workshop on December 10th. It's free. It's called The Transformational Power of Curriculum. Create a program as powerful as you. It'll be 90 minutes of just really deep material, inner inquiry, tips and tools, along with some exercises. And that workshop is a preview for Curriculum Lab, which is starting later in January. And that's the full shebang. That is 6 weeks of training, of get it done sessions, of submitting your curriculum to me, of me supporting you to go deeper with your content and your exercises and your facilitation skills and some of your marketing for your program. We've opened the doors to Curriculum Lab. There is a very special early rate on it right now for a little bit. I will drop the link for Curriculum Lab into the show notes as well. Have a look. Let me know if you have any questions. In the meantime, I hope you loved today's episode. If you think it would be valuable for anyone you know, please share it, pass it along. Give us 5 stars if you loved it. And remember, I'm taking a little break just so that I can re energize, and I will be really excited to be back with you in 2026.